Chicago, Illinois, November 2025. 1:47 a.m. The streets were empty except for the sound of freezing wind scraping through the alleyways. Sophie Bennett, a 24-year-old nursing student, had just finished another exhausting night shift at the hospital. She stepped into her apartment building and immediately felt something was wrong. The elevator doors slowly opened on the 14th floor. At the very end of the hallway, someone was standing there, a man in a black hoodie, completely motionless, watching her. The hallway. Sophie froze for a second. Maybe he lived there. Maybe he was waiting for someone. She tried not to think about it. Keeping her eyes down, she walked toward apartment 14B. The hallway lights flickered softly above her. Then she heard it. Footsteps behind her. Slow, heavy. She reached for her keys with shaking hands. The footsteps got closer. Sophie quickly unlocked the door, rushed inside, and slammed it shut. Deadbolt locked. Chain locked. Silence. Her breathing echoed through the apartment. After a few seconds, she slowly looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. The man was gone. Sophie sat awake in bed, scrolling through her phone, trying to calm herself down. Then, tap! She looked toward the kitchen. Tap, tap, like someone gently knocking on glass. Sophie slowly walked into the kitchen. The window overlooked 14 stories of empty air. No fire escape, no balcony, nothing. But written across the fogged-up glass were 2 words. "Hello, Sophie." Her blood turned cold. Someone knew her name. Sophie called 911 immediately. 2 police officers arrived 20 minutes later. They searched the hallway, the stairwell, the roof. Nothing. One officer shrugged. Probably just some creep messing around. But before leaving, the older officer stopped at the door. "You said he was wearing a black hoodie." Sophie nodded. The officer looked uneasy. "Last month, another woman in this building reported someone matching that description." Sophie stared at him. "What happened to her?" The officer hesitated. "She disappeared 2 days later." The next evening, Sophie bought a cheap security camera online and pointed it toward the front door. 2:13 a.m. Her phone buzzed, motion detected. She opened the live feed. The man in the black hoodie was standing outside her apartment, not moving, not blinking, just staring directly into the camera. 1 minute passed, then 5, then 10, still motionless, then slowly. He tilted his head sideways, as if he were smiling. The screen suddenly filled with static, then went black. Sophie's chest tightened. She locked herself in the bedroom. Then she heard something from the living room. Creak, a floorboard. Someone was inside the apartment, but the front door had never opened. The footsteps slowly moved closer, then stopped right outside her bedroom door. Silence. Sophie covered her mouth, trying not to cry. Then the doorknob slowly began to turn. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911 again. No signal, no service. Then something slid underneath the bedroom door. A folded piece of paper. With trembling hands, she opened it. 3 words. "I watch you sleep." Police arrived minutes later after a neighbor heard screaming. They searched the apartment again. Nothing. Then one officer noticed scratches near the bathroom ceiling. They pulled down the ceiling panel. Above it was a narrow hidden crawl space. Inside they found empty water bottles, rotten food containers, a dirty blanket, and hundreds of photographs. Photos of Sophie sleeping, cooking, changing clothes, coming home from work. Some pictures were taken weeks earlier. Someone had been living above her apartment, watching her every night. Police reviewed the building's CCTV footage. Every single night at around 2 a.m., the man in the black hoodie entered the building, but there was one terrifying detail. He was never seen leaving, not once, and in one distorted camera frame, his face briefly became visible. Pale skin, completely white eyes, no pupils, no expression, just staring directly into the camera. Sophie moved out the next morning. New city, new apartment, new locks. For 3 weeks, everything was normal. Then one night, she heard a soft knock at her new apartment door. She opened it. Nobody there, only a folded piece of paper on the floor. She slowly opened it. 2 words were written inside. Found you. In October 2024, 27-year-old Claire Morgan moved into a small rental house on Willow Street, just outside Madison, Wisconsin. The neighborhood was quiet, almost too quiet. Her nearest neighbor lived 3 houses away. At night, the only sounds were crickets and the wind moving through the trees. Claire loved it. She finally had peace, or so she thought. One Friday morning, she opened her front door to leave for work. On the porch, she found a Polaroid photo. It showed her bedroom window. The lights were on, and someone had circled the window with a red marker. On the back, only 4 words were written. Close them tonight. Claire laughed nervously. She assumed it was a prank. She threw the picture into the trash, locked the door, and left. That evening, she remembered the note. Before going to bed, she checked every window. One upstairs bedroom window was slightly open. She closed it, locked it, then went to sleep. At exactly 2:17 a.m., a loud knock echoed through the house. 3 slow knocks. Then silence. Claire looked at the doorbell camera. No one. She checked the backyard camera. Nothing. Just darkness. The next morning, she convinced herself it had been the wind. 2 days later, Claire stopped at a grocery store after work. As she reached the checkout, the cashier smiled. "Your husband already paid." Claire frowned. "I'm single." The cashier pointed toward the exit, the tall guy in the green jacket. He said, "You always buy the same cereal." Claire rushed outside. The parking lot was empty. Only one dark sedan slowly pulled away. Its license plate was covered in mud. That night, an unknown number texted her. "You should try the chocolate cereal next time." Claire's hands froze. She had picked up the chocolate box, then put it back. No one could have known that, unless they had been standing close enough to watch. She blocked the number. Another message arrived instantly. "That won't help." The next morning, she filed a police report. The officer listened carefully, but without a suspect. There was little they could do. He suggested cameras, extra locks, and changing her daily routine. Claire followed every piece of advice for almost a week. Nothing happened. She finally relaxed until Friday night. Around midnight, her motion sensor detected movement in the backyard. Claire opened the live camera feed. At first, nothing. Then, a flashlight blinked once, twice, 3 times. From behind the trees, the light disappeared. 30 seconds later, the motion alert stopped. Police searched the woods. They found footprints, fresh ones, but they ended near the road, as if someone had been picked up by a car. Claire decided to spend the weekend at her sister's apartment. When she returned home on Monday, everything looked normal, until she walked into the kitchen. A fresh cup of coffee sat on the table, still warm. Beside it, a handwritten note. "Welcome home." Claire dropped her keys. She knew she had locked every door before leaving. Nothing had been stolen, nothing was damaged. Someone had entered the house, only to make coffee. Police processed the scene. No fingerprints, no forced entry. Then an officer noticed something unusual. The attic access door in the hallway was slightly open. He pulled it down, shined his flashlight inside, and immediately called for backup. Hidden in the attic was a folding chair, empty food cans, a blanket, and dozens of water bottles. Someone had been living there, watching Claire through a tiny crack above the hallway ceiling, listening to every phone call, every conversation, every night she spent alone. The attic also contained a small notebook. Every page was filled with dates and times. 7:12 a.m. leaves for work. 6:04 p.m. returns home. Tuesday, orders pizza. Friday, grocery shopping. The final page read, "She still hasn't looked up." Claire couldn't stop shaking. She had been watched from inside her own house for weeks, maybe months. The DNA found on a water bottle belonged to Ryan Ellis, a former maintenance worker. He had worked for the rental company 6 months earlier, then suddenly disappeared. Police searched every address linked to him, nothing. His truck was later found abandoned near a state forest. The keys were still inside, but Ryan was gone. Claire moved out the very next day. She changed cities, changed jobs, even changed her last name. For nearly a year, nothing happened. Then, on the anniversary of the day she moved into Willow Street, a plain white envelope appeared in her mailbox. Inside was a brand new Polaroid. It showed the front of her new apartment, taken just the night before. On the back, only one sentence. "You remembered to look up." The FBI never found Ryan Ellis, and his case remains open. So if you ever hear footsteps above your ceiling late at night, don't assume it's the house settling. Because sometimes the person watching you isn't outside your window. They're already inside your home. My name is Ava. 2 years ago, I left my hometown in Arizona to attend graduate school in Seattle. The university assigned me a room on the 4th floor of an old student residence hall. The building had been renovated several times, but parts of it still looked like they belonged in the 1980s. The hallways were quiet, the walls were thin, and after midnight, almost everyone stayed inside their rooms. At first, I loved it. It was peaceful. I finally had a place where I could focus on school. During my first week, nothing unusual happened. Classes started. I made a few friends. Every evening I studied in the library until around 10 o'clock before walking back to my room. Everything felt normal until one Friday night. I stepped out of the elevator and noticed a man standing at the very end of the hallway. He wore a dark gray hoodie with the hood pulled over his head. His face was hidden. I assumed he was waiting for someone. As I walked toward my room, he slowly turned and walked into the stairwell. I didn't think much about it. The next evening, he was there again. Same hallway, same hoodie, same place. Again, he disappeared into the stairwell the moment I reached my door. After the third night, it started bothering me. I asked the girl who lived across from me if she had ever seen him. She looked confused. "What guy?" I pointed toward the end of the hallway. "There." The hallway was empty. She laughed and told me I was probably exhausted from studying too much. I tried convincing myself she was right. But over the next week, things became stranger. Whenever I returned from class, someone had moved something inside my room. A notebook would be on a different shelf. A pen would be lying on the floor. My desk chair would be pulled back a few inches. Nothing valuable was missing. Nothing was broken. Everything was just slightly different. I blamed myself. Maybe I was forgetting where I left things. Then one morning, I found my bedroom window unlocked. I always locked it before sleeping, always. I checked every corner of the room. Nothing, no signs of forced entry, no missing items. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been inside. A few days later, I stayed late in the library to finish a research paper. By the time I walked back to the residence hall, it was almost midnight. The campus was nearly empty. As I crossed the parking lot, I heard footsteps behind me, slow, steady, matching my pace. I stopped walking. The footsteps stopped too. I turned around. No one. Just a few parked cars and empty sidewalks. I hurried inside the building. The elevator doors opened. As they closed, I caught a glimpse of the same gray hoodie standing outside in the darkness. He wasn't trying to hide anymore. He was staring directly at me. The next morning, I reported everything to campus security. They reviewed the entrance cameras. Nothing. No man in a gray hoodie. No one following me. The officer smiled politely and said, "Sometimes stress makes people notice patterns that aren't really there." I wanted to believe him. But that night, at exactly 2:43 a.m., 3 soft knocks came from my bedroom door. I froze. Nobody in the residence hall ever knocked that late. I waited. Silence. I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. I opened the door a few seconds later. No one, but lying on the floor, was a small sticky note. It had only 4 words. "You forgot your window." My heart dropped. No one knew about the unlocked window. I had never told anyone. I packed a bag and spent the night at my friend's apartment. The next afternoon, I returned with a campus security officer. Nothing had been stolen. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. My desk calendar. The date for the following Friday had been circled with a black marker. I knew I hadn't done that. Neither had the officer. He told me to call immediately if anything else happened. That weekend, I bought a small motion camera and hid it on top of my bookshelf. For 3 nights, nothing happened. On the 4th night, the camera recorded exactly 42 seconds before shutting off. The final frame showed my bedroom door opening, very slowly, not from the outside, from the inside. The video ended there. The next morning, I watched the footage over and over again. No matter how many times I replayed it, I couldn't explain what I was seeing. The door wasn't being pushed open from the hallway. It looked like someone inside my room was opening it. Campus security arrived within an hour. They searched my room from top to bottom. Nothing. No fingerprints, no signs of forced entry. One of the maintenance workers noticed something unusual above my bathroom ceiling. A small access panel had fresh scratches around the edges. When they removed it, everyone went silent. There was a narrow maintenance tunnel running above several rooms. A person could easily crawl through it. The officers searched inside. About 20 feet from my room, they found an old sleeping bag, empty water bottles, canned food, phone chargers, and a small notebook. Every page contained handwritten notes about me, what time I left for class, what I usually ordered for dinner, how long I stayed in the library, even the clothes I wore each day. It had been going on for almost 6 weeks. Then they found something that made my stomach turn, a small memory card. The detective inserted it into his laptop. It contained dozens of videos. Every single one had been recorded inside my room while I was sleeping. Someone had been watching me almost every night. The police immediately evacuated the entire 4th floor. They believed the stalker had escaped through another maintenance exit before they arrived. For the next several days, officers questioned every student, reviewed hundreds of hours of security footage. Nothing, no clear face, no identity, no suspect. I packed everything I owned and moved into an apartment across town. For the first time in weeks, I finally felt safe. 3 months passed. School returned to normal. I slowly stopped thinking about what had happened. Then one evening, I received a package with no return address. Inside was only one thing: my old student ID, the one I had lost nearly a month before leaving the residence hall. Taped to it was a note. It read, "You looked happier on the 4th floor." I called the police immediately. They searched for fingerprints. Nothing. No DNA. Nothing that could identify the sender. A week later, I was walking home after class. As I passed a coffee shop, I looked through the window. A man wearing a gray hoodie was sitting alone. His face was hidden behind a newspaper. As I walked past, he slowly lowered the paper, smiled, and disappeared into the crowd before I could react. The police never found him. Sometimes people ask if I still believe someone is watching me. I don't know. But every time I move into a new place, the very first thing I check is the ceiling above my bedroom, because sometimes the safest looking rooms hide the darkest secrets.